If you think you need to speak Spanish perfectly to teach Spanish effectively, I am going to change your mind completely. Okay, so stay with me because what I'm sharing today is going to totally transform how you think about stepping into your Spanish classroom. Hola, profe. I'm Catherine from Cosmic Teaching, and today we are tackling one of the biggest myths in the world of Spanish teachers or language instruction. I've been teaching Spanish for 13 years and mentoring Spanish teachers for the last 8 years, and I can't tell you how many amazing educators I've met who doubt themselves simply because they don't consider themselves fluent enough. Here's the truth. Your students don't need a perfect Spanish speaker. They need a relatable model of someone who is learning and growing just like them. When you make mistakes and correct yourself, you're showing them that language learning is a process. You're demonstrating that it's okay to stumble, to self-correct, and to keep going. And that's incredibly powerful modeling for them because they know it's okay for them to stumble, to self-correct, and to make mistakes. The second part of this here is that you are teaching language acquisition. You're not just teaching language. So if you think about it, you understand the learning process because you've been through it, either because you learned Spanish or because you learned English. And you might remember what it was like to conjugate those verbs or to struggle with ser versus estar or third conditional and fourth conditional. And it's hard sometimes to relate to these struggles if we think about it in our native language because the language comes naturally. That journey of learning or acquiring the second language gives you the empathy and insight that helps to make you a better teacher. And it's okay to share those experiences with your students as you're explaining to them why some things are hard or why some things are challenging. Third, comprehensible input doesn't require perfection, right? The foundation of effective language teaching, comprehensible input, is not about speaking flawlessly. I have had teachers come back to me and say, "Hey, Catherine, this story is written in a really weird way, and it doesn't make sense for a native speaker." And I say, "I know that because it's written for novice learners. I want to use authentic resources as much as possible, but sometimes I need to make my Spanish understandable to my students at their level. And sometimes that means saying things in a way that's not like graduate level fluency. It's not going to get you a doctorate in Spanish, but we can support student comprehension with gestures, visuals, cognates, and simple vocabulary. So is it the most fabulous Spanish you've ever used in your life? Claro que no, but it works for our students. Bueno, the next thing is really cool. You can improve your Spanish while teaching it, especially if you feel like maybe you're stuck at a lower level. I know I used to teach Spanish 1 for many, many years, and I felt like my Spanish was stuck because I was teaching Spanish 1. When I moved to Spain, I felt like I had to catch up on advanced grammar because it had been so long since I had used that advanced grammar. So here's the deal. Every lesson you plan, every authentic resource that you find, every conversation that you have with students, it all contributes to your growth. And I've seen teachers become more confident and proficient simply through the act of teaching and finding resources that support their own language acquisition alongside their students. So, how can you teach confidently while growing your Spanish? Here are my top strategies. First, you're going to prepare key phrases and vocabulary before each lesson. Having that essential vocabulary ready is going to help you be more confident walking in, and it's going to help build student confidence as you work them through that vocabulary and those structures. Second, you're going to embrace the phrase no sé, pero vamos a averiguar. And even I just stumbled over that. No sé, pero vamos a averiguar. Let's find out. It's okay not to know everything. Vamos a buscarlo en word reference. Like, qué buena pregunta. I say that all the time. Qué buena pregunta. No lo sé. Let's look it up together. And you can use your students as a resource, especially if you have advanced students or maybe you have heritage speakers in your class. We don't want to overuse them, and I can make another video about that, but they can help explain concepts to beginners. And I really love this because sometimes like kids speak is different than adult speak, and it gives them the opportunity to learn it from each other instead of hearing it from an adult and it's not making sense. It also helps us to create a much more collaborative learning environment where students are asking each other for help instead of always asking you. Next, we can focus on communication over perfection. If your students understand and they can respond, es un éxito. You're doing well, profe. Okay. And then my last tip here is that you should keep learning. Take online courses, watch Spanish Netflix, listen to podcasts. Come join us in the Spanish staff room where we are practicing our Spanish together once a month with a profe that we are working with ourselves. And your growth mindset there will help inspire your students. And I know some of you might be thinking, oof, what about parents and admin who want me to be perfect? Here's the thing. They want good teaching, not flawless Spanish. When your students are engaged and learning and growing in confidence, that speaks louder than perfect Spanish ever would. Okay. So if this resonated with you or you want more strategies for teaching Spanish with confidence, come join us in the Spanish staff room. It's my community for Spanish teachers where we can learn and grow together. Ciao, profe.